Program record 35 wins a season ago. 7th Final Four in program history. Regular season and Big 12 tournament champs. Kelvin Sampson, head coach of the Houston Cougars, joining us here. The Big 12 Media Days presented by New Era. You see those images, Coach. Thanks for being with us. What kind of goes through your mind as you think about last season and how special that was?
It's good to be here with you guys. Every team you coach has a journey. It starts. First thing that I think about was in the month of November, we were 4-3. And then, we kind of found ourselves just by hanging in there, coming in every day with the right attitude, working. Milos Uzan's ability to be where his feet were. I think he was all over the place when he got there. But the leadership, Jalen Roberts, L.J. Cryer, Javier Francis, I think was the backbone of that team. Very much a player-led team, which is what most programs are, the great ones at least.
We're talking about with the commissioner, some of the best freshmen in the country are in this league this year. You've got 3 of them. Why did they choose Houston when they were recruited by the entire country?
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of knew what they were getting into, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think you have to give a lot of credit to their mothers and fathers. I don't think that we try to be somebody we're not. We are who we are. If you like us, you like us. If you don't, you don't. I'm fine either way with it. But when we recruited Kingston, Isaiah, and Chris, I told them, come watch practice, and then you decide. And then don't ask me any more questions. Ask the players. That's going to be your teammates. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you my truth, but you're going to be their teammates. Ask them what our staff is like, what I'm like, what days off are like, what's our worst day, what does that look like? I said, figure out things that's going to be important to you, and then make your decision.
Coach, you've got 9 players back that suited up for a national championship game, but as Fran was just talking about, very talented group of freshmen. Freshmen don't usually get out on the court early and are players that you have to rely on. This year, you're going to have to rely on those guys to add depth to some of your returners. What's that process been like trying to get them up to speed on the Houston way?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sean, because as soon as the season ends, you have your memories and whatever your feelings are of the season that just passed. But you're not quite ready to put a period on it yet. You still have a comma there. But I think the period comes in June when they get there on campus to start summer school and watch them with their growth. So what I did was called in JoJo Tugler, Ramon Walker, Milos, and Emanuel. And I said, you guys are responsible for them this summer. I said, you coach them. I think about the guys that you came in with and how they coached you. Yeah. If our standards and our culture is going to go forward, it's going to be because of you guys, not me. So I give a lot of credit to our players. They've done an awesome job with Chris, Kingston, Isaiah, and Bryce Jackson. I mean, Bryce Jackson is going to be, I think, a terrific player for us eventually. But just watching their growth, we had some inter-squad scrimmages. We scrimmaged Chris's team on Saturday. I played them probably more minutes than I normally would because they need it. Yeah. They need to go through the failures and figure out how to help the other players. Freshmen sometimes think of themselves in an isolated world on a boat by themselves. I said, fellas, our boat is your boat. Your boat is our boat. You've got to make us better, too. So that process, it will continue until it doesn't. They've got to get their butts kicked, and then they got to get comfortable. Then eventually they'll start kicking somebody else's butt.
I've always used the term with your program, culture warriors.
Yes.
You go back to Galen Robinson, your first point guard, and some of those other young guys that were with you at the beginning when you were playing in Hofheinz. I don't want to bring back a bad memory, but but when I think of Culture Warriors, the 4 veterans, all in their own way, embody Houston Cougar basketball. Emanuel Sharp nationally doesn't maybe get the attention that a JoJo's starting to get, or some of the other guys in the past. He's been with you 5 years. What's he mean to the culture of the? You don't like that word. What's he mean to Houston basketball?
Yeah. At some point, a coach has to trust the young man, not the player, the young man. You got to know what his soul is, what his fiber is, what he stands for. If you don't stand for anything in your life, how can you stand for something in a group setting? So, Emanuel, the thing I've always loved about him, he's always been hungry. He's when he didn't have a senior in high school because he had that traumatic injury, and it was just gruesome what he went through. So he came in at semester, redshirted that year. Then the next year, I think he was our 6th man, first guard off the bench. And then once he got in the starting lineup, Emanuel can play with any lineup. He can, because he can rebound his position, and he can go defend the other team's best player. If you looked at our road games last year, or even tournament games, all the way from Gonzaga, Purdue, Tennessee, Duke, Florida, all those games. The thing that stood out was everybody talks about JoJo as a defensive player of the year. Well, that's because he makes the plays you see. The plays that nobody sees is what Emanuel does. He didn't get beat off the bounce. He allows us to stay out of foul trouble because he doesn't get beat. Guys are always getting beat, give up corner threes and fouls at the rim.
Shot.
Yeah. JoJo's so good because we got some guys that couldn't guard me in a phone booth. But now Emanuel, you're not going to get very many block shots on him because he can guard the ball.
And don't underestimate your lateral quickness, Coach. I've seen it.
I had no lateral quickness when I was quick.
Well, Emanuel Sharp was the MOP of the Big 12 Tournament Midwest Regional as well, and he is standing by with the fourth member of our crew, Chancellor Johnson. Chancellor.
Putting the sharpshooter Emanuel Sharp, the preseason All-Big 12 team and one of the leaders of the reigning back-to-back Big 12 champs in the Houston Cougars. We were talking off air about how you had to wake up this morning at 4:30.
Yep.
Had practice, then hopped on a plane.
Yep.
What did Kelvin have y'all doing this morning?
Getting after it, competing. It's the same thing we do every day. But it comes with being in this program. That's what we're here for. Is to get after it every day and compete. That's what we did this morning for sure.
The last time we saw you and this program was in the national championship game where you guys came up short. What have the past 6 months been like for yourself as you recognize you were right there, but you also understand you have a real opportunity to potentially do it again?
Yeah, it was, kind of sour, knowing we wanted to, finish off the season the right way. But, it's basketball. You're not always going to end it the right way, but, it's a lesson. We're taking what we learned from last year, and we're going to try to apply it this year and get better.
Speaking of lessons, your coach, we just heard from Kelvin Sampson, gives plenty of life ones. You've been to war with him for some years now. What does he mean to you as a player?
A lot. It's way more than just a basketball coach. He's a mentor. I've learned so much, not about basketball, but just about life. Because I feel like it coincides. Everything he teaches on the court applies to all areas of life. Competing, showing up every day with the right attitude, the right effort. That's not just basketball. That's everything. Your job, your work, family. You show up every day. And, he preaches that to all of us. And, I've tried to do my best as to, take that in and apply it to my life since I was a freshman.
Speaking of freshmen, you're one of the elder statesmen on this team who features, a number of freshmen that you guys will be relying on.
Yeah.
What was a moment in practice where you thought to yourself, okay, these guys, they're going to be pretty good?
Since the beginning, since we started getting after them 4-on-4, I remember it was the day Kingston was killing everybody, and I was like, yeah, he's gonna be an important piece for us this year. But it's the same for all the freshmen. They're advanced. They've got great attitudes, and they want to get better. That's the thing. some people, just go out there and play, but they actually have a drive to get better and improve, and that's what we need.
Now, I was joking with you last week when I saw you that you're getting old, man. You're senior now. Yeah. For you, when you look back on it, what's the biggest difference from freshman year Emanuel Sharp to the man who's sitting with me right now?
I think just being more experienced. I feel like coming in as a freshman, you just kind of trying to survive. Within the defense, offense. It's new. It's a faster pace, more physicality. So when I first got here, just trying to find any way that I can help the team. But now it's about leading. I'm more experienced. I gotta bring up the guys around me. I gotta help others. Whereas when I was a freshman, I'm the one being helped. I'm asking questions. But now I'm in other people's ears. I'm leading the freshmen. Giving them pointers, advice. But I'm used to it. So it's great.
Looking forward to covering you throughout the year. Thanks for your time, Emanuel.
No problem. Thank you.